Hi everyone, welcome back to our training exercises. I hope you enjoyed our first episode, or our first training lesson. So what we're going to do today is we're going to cover some music, some audio mixing a little bit. We're also going to cover the pen tool as it pertains to the timeline, and we're going to work on some other useful tools. I'm going to go back into my project that we started with last time, and I'm going to double click, launch it. As I mentioned last time, we are using Adobe Creative Cloud Premiere Pro CC 2017. I haven't upgraded yet on this machine to 2018. The differences are minor. The reason why I don't like to upgrade right away is because if you are working on a project, which I have a few projects still being worked on, in a previous version, if you upgrade it to the newer version, you could have some issues. I like to make sure that my projects are finished and in the can, as they would say, before upgrading to the next level. So if you remember from last time, we worked on, and this will take a second to load, it's just pulling the media. We worked on making our first cuts, adding some transitions, and that's about it. Very, very basic stuff. So now I want to go over here to my project window. And I have all those clips that we talked about last week. I'm going to close that down. So like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I wanted to add some music in. So I'm going to go and double click in our project window over here, and I'm in my Premiere exercises. I have a folder listed as music. There's a whole slew of songs that I have in here. I'm going to click on it and hit import. There's a lot of places you can get music from nowadays. You have to be careful though if you're going to be posting this on social media or YouTube or various locations that they require you to have licenses of certain types of songs. Professionally recorded songs, recording by artists that are linked with labels, and so on. There's a website that I like, that I use over here, called Free Music Archive. And there is tons and tons of music from all different genres that you can search for and find stuff that is free to use, and it has all different types of ambient songs and acoustic, you name it, they've got it. It's really cool. It's super useful. 435 pages of music, and they have 8,000 plus songs. So if I wanted to go, let's say, and look for folk music, if I wanted to go to, I could even search for like acoustic guitar, you name it, I could find stuff, which is great. You can also, if you want to dabble in things, if you have a Mac, you can use GarageBand and you can create your own music. That's an entirely different lesson that we might do at some point, where I can show you how to make your own music, which would be a lot of fun. This is where I got all these songs from, is this Free Music Archive. And there's a ton of different versions of stuff that I like to use and play around with. Let's say this guy takes place around the water, and so let's see, I have something called Earth. Let's try that, see how it sounds. It feels a little too dramatic for this particular video. Let's try ocean. Okay, maybe I'll give this one a shot. So now what I can do is a couple different things. I can either just take the whole thing and drag and drop it into my timeline. But as you can see, it goes on significantly longer than the video that we have here. If we were to add more clips, which we could, and we probably will at some point, we could have this go the entire length of the song, if we wanted to. We could also, just like you would with your video clips, bring your playhead to the beginning, mark an in point, and maybe I want to take it to right before it really picks up, right here, and mark my out point, again using I and O for in point and out point. I'm going to delete this by clicking on it and highlighting it out of the timeline and hit delete. Now, if you try to work with waveforms in a song in particular, or if you're remixing a voiceover, you can't grab it from this. You have to go down here to your waveform. So I am going to take this and drag and drop it down. Now I'm going to scale this out. As you can see, it's still significantly longer than the video. So I can go to the end of where the music is, and I can scale it back by just clicking and holding and dragging it to a certain point. I want it to end a little bit after the video ends. I also want it to start a little bit before the video starts. So I can click and move it however I see fit, and I might change this as we go along. I'm also going to scale this up so I can see the waveforms a little bit cleaner. Bring my playhead to the beginning. I'm going to press the space bar. So that music works great for this particular sequence, except over here. So we have the sound of the waterfall is extremely overpowering comparatively to the music. So what I would want to do first is go right over here and highlight this clip. I'm going to right click on it and go to audio gain. The audio gain is the way you would manipulate the level of how loud or soft you would like your audio. I'm going to make this -6, so it'll be pulling it down from its 0 to -6. Let's roll it back. It's still too high. I'm going to hit Command Z and undo. Again, I'm going to right click, go to audio gain. Let's try -12. Let's drop this way down. Now if you look very closely here, by dropping that down to -12, this waveform is very close to the level of the other two now, maybe even slightly lower, and that might work in our advantage. Let's hear. I think that sounds a lot better. Now we have manipulated this clip so that it is significantly lower than it originally was, but yet it also seems to very closely match the other two clips we're working with. Now, let's watch the end of the music here. Do you hear how that ends abruptly? What we're going to do here is we're going to fade this out. Over here, in your tools, you have the pen tool. You can also get this by hitting the letter P on your keyboard. I'm going to add a point right about here, and I'm going to add a second point right there. And now I can pull this down. Hit the letter V to bring back to your selection tool. Let's hit the space bar and see how this does. That sounds a lot better. It fades out nice and smooth. So if we watch it all the way through, Now the one thing that I noticed is if you go in the very beginning right here, this starts off very loud. What I want to do is use the pen tool again, and just like I did with the music, I'm going to do this with the audio track of this video clip. Adding 2 points, I'm going to scale and pull down so that the fade up of the sound corresponds with the fade in of the video. Now if I can hit the home key on my keyboard, or if you're using a laptop, the function key and the back arrow will also bring it home. You'll be back to the beginning of your sequence here. So now we have everything put together that we want, but what we need to do now is add some sort of title, right? So I'm going to go over here to my text tool. This is a very basic tutorial on text. We can go into much greater detail if we go into the graphics menu, but for right now we're going to start with just the type tool. Click here and you're going to get a little type tool function. I can click and I'm going to call this My Day at the Lake. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, and I can take this and I can move it wherever I'd like to place it. I'm going to place it right here in the center. Just like with any other effects, you have your effects controls, which is this guy right over here in the source window. Now, you'll see we have text. I want to change the font. So first, let me go over here and highlight it. Command A will highlight it. Maybe I want to go with Helvetica. I can make it bold. I can make the font larger or smaller, however I want. I can center align it. And then when I click to my selection tool, I can move this wherever I want to move it. Now what I can also do when I select this clip, if I hit Command D, I can add my dissolves quickly and they put them right on. And there's your first title. Now I'm going to hit the End key. I'll bring my playhead to the end of the video. By hitting the End key on your keyboard or function forward, it'll bring you to the end of your video clip or your sequence. Now your playhead is over here, and I want to hit T for title again, and I'm going to add another title in. Oops, spelling would be great. So now with this particular one, I want the font fairly small. I'm going to scale this down nice and small. And I'm going to move this to my lower corner over here. You don't ever really want to put your titles all the way at the corners because certain televisions or certain computer screens may not be able to view them. This is called the title safe area. Now if I go over to this text box, I can put this right about here. I'm going to shorten this. And again, I'm going to hit Command D. And you'll see and that's our next lesson. So we covered the pen tool, we covered text, we covered titling, we covered music, and Command D to add in quick transitions. Thank you.